Hello, family. Welcome to another episode of the Prescription for Better Living podcast. As always, I am and shall remain Dr. Hernando Carter, board-certified internal medicine physician, your primary care extraordinaire. And welcome to the Prescription for Better Living podcast, where we discuss all things health and wellness in a hip and relatable way. So, you know what I'm going to ask you to do. If this podcast has taught you something new, if it's inspired you, encouraged you, blessed you in some way, I need you to like the podcast. I need you to subscribe. I need you to comment. I need you to share the good news, spread it all around. Tell everybody, hallelujah, Dr. Carter is here. If you feel so inclined, we would love to have your financial support to support the work that goes into this podcast. And we have many ways you can do it. You can hit us up on the Cash App, $PBL podcast, and we'll get that little change on up out you. I'll pull up on you in the Mickey D's parking lot, wherever you want to meet, and I'll take that little change off your hands. No donation is too large or too small. Also, you can become an episode sponsor. It's easy. Just hit us up, DM us, email us, care@rxforbetterliving.org. No, that's the wrong email address. Care is for bespoke wellness. You can hit us up at contact@rxforbetterliving.org. Contact@rxforbetterliving.org, and we'll be glad to talk to you about being an episode sponsor. You can also become a member of our Patreon family. Just $1 a month supports this podcast. Patreon.com/Dr. Hernando Carter, and we'd love to welcome you as a member of our Patreon family. Speaking of sponsors, shout out to my man, Cedric Cooper over at Right On Time Physical Therapy. He's got all of your physical therapy needs. He's got custom workout plans for you. He's right over there, Avenue D in Ensley at the Ensley Health Club, 2000 Avenue D. You can hit him up over there, or you can visit him at rightontimept.com and tell him Hernando and the Prescription for Better Living podcast sent you. Shout out to Bespoke Wellness. All of your concierge primary care, weight loss, and IV fluid needs. You can call today to schedule an appointment at 205-396-2820, or you can email at care@bespokewellnessservices.com. Shout out to drhernandocarter.com. Look, all things Dr. Hernando Carter right there. You may be looking for a speaker at your corporate event. You may be looking for a speaker for your community event. Visit drhernandocarter.com and hit us up and check out the merch while you're over there. So, back in the studio, once again, the dynamic duo is back together. Hernando and Gary. My man Gary, salute to Gary. Hey, anytime I'm in the studio with my man Gary, I just think that it just enhances the podcast. You know, I was up in the office last episode, and, you know, I recorded the best I could. I did all right, but, you know, Gary tried. You know what I mean? You tried, Gary. He did what he could do with what I gave him, you know. But I'm telling you, look at these lights on me. Listen at the quality of this audio. It ain't nothing like it. I'm telling you. So you just know, if I ain't in the studio recording with Gary, it ain't by my hand, okay? It ain't my decision. Sometimes schedules misalign. Gary is high in demand. You know, I work a little bit. So sometimes we got to do what we got to do. But we back up in here, Gary, and I'm happy to be here because we are continuing to discuss what? Heavy topics. Talking about all things obesity. This is episode 47, Heavy Topics Part 6. Oh my God. I don't think, Gary, I have had 6 parts to any series that I've done. However, I told y'all that heavy topics is a heavy topic, right? And so many things are tied to our weight. right, into a healthy weight as it relates to our health. But it's like the least discussed thing when you go to the doctor, right? When you go to the doctor tell you, oh, lose weight. And that's usually the counseling. But as you can tell, it's taken us several episodes to really try to lay all this stuff out. And guess what, y'all? We ain't done yet. No, part 6 is not the last part. I'm sorry, the heavy topics. Now, 7 is the number of completion. So maybe, just maybe, part 7 will be the last part, and then we can move on to something else. But I really think that I owed it to my current audience and even my future audience, because this stuff is here. You know, what they say is done on the internet is in ink and ain't in pencil. And so even if there's somebody who may not be aware of the podcast right now, but when they become aware of it, they can go back and watch all these parts and all the other episodes. Okay, so I'm laying it down for you. Absolutely. But it's for our future PBL podcast family as well. Okay, so this is part 7. Just to recap, in the first part, we discussed obesity. We really defined what obesity is. We gave you resources, etc. We talked about BMI, the body mass index, the ratio of height and weight that gives you the BMI, and whether you are normal weight, underweight, overweight, or obese. We talked about the genetic and familial components of obesity. And it was important for us to dig into that because, again, so many times we treat people with obesity like they have a character flaw. And obesity is not a character issue. There are genes that are inherited that increases someone's predisposition to obesity. Okay? And so we had to cover that to establish the scientific fact that it's not just a matter of willpower, that is not just pushing back from the table, that is not a failure in character or anything like that. Oh, no. We talked about how there are people who can eat a very sensible diet, who can exercise regularly, but they still struggle with obesity. So we had to change that mindset because we had to get you to think about this thing like it was. In the next part, we discussed a chronic medical condition, just like high blood pressure, just like diabetes. Well, why do we have to do that, Hernando? I'm glad you asked, because if it's a chronic medical condition, that means that there's treatment for it. And you're not without hope, right? You're not hopeless. We can lick this thing and keep it under control. And we started talking about how we lick this thing in the next part. We talked about the most important foundational aspect of obesity treatment, which is this thing called lifestyle. Lifestyle is the cornerstone of any treatment as it relates to obesity. Why is that, Hernando? I'm glad you asked, because you can take the pills, you can take the shots, you can get the surgery, but if you don't incorporate healthy lifestyle changes, healthy lifestyle habits that you can continue in perpetuity, then all the progress you make with your diet, with your pills, with your shot, with your surgery can be reversed in a matter of time if you don't change some of those habits. And it's not just you, dear people, who have the bad habits. It is cultural. We talked about that. That just life is more convenient, right? We have technology. We don't have to move as much. We got streaming. And so now our culture and our lives are set up for us to expend less energy doing stuff. But the way you lose weight and maintain a healthy weight is by burning up, expending more energy than you consume. So we got into what lifestyle changes look like. And we said that you shouldn't just start out with these radical, very uncomfortable changes. I'm going to cut out all meat, bread, pasta, and I'm going to eat like Bugs Bunny for the rest of my life. You going to fail. Instead, and Gary laughing at me, I'm trying to be serious, Gary, but instead, start with very subtle changes that you can maintain over a long period of time. And then before long, you would have changed more things than you realize. I asked you to picture that thing that you love to eat or drink. That's the worst thing for you, but it's your most favorite thing. You got that there? And I said, keep eating it, keep drinking it. But go to the thing below that. That's second favorite. Let's try to reduce that and then cut that out and then go on down the list. And then before you know it, you come back up there and you're eating or drinking less of even the most favorite thing. So just some tips and tricks. Go check that episode back out. And then we started getting into medications. We talked about the pills and the oral medications, and we talked about several of those, the indications and the potential side effects. So that's a recap of where we are. But this is episode 47, part 6. And in this, we're talking about the injectables. Yes, the injectables. I told y'all how bad y'all did Oprah. Oprah went and got her some Ozempic and lost her weight. And, oh, Lord, y'all talk so bad about her. Now, it ain't Oprah's fault that Weight Watchers had to file bankruptcy. That ain't her fault. That's Weight Watchers' fault. That's not really their fault. Here's what I said last week, and I'll reiterate it now. The injectable medications for weight loss have changed the game. They have. Because before we had the availability of the injectables for weight loss, our options were very limited. We had a few different pills that we could recommend, and a lot of people could not tolerate them or they were contraindicated. And so we tell people just give it the old college try and cut back and exercise. And then when that failed, if they met the indications, we refer them to weight loss surgery. And I'm not here to talk down the weight loss surgery because it is a life-changing procedure for a lot of people, life-saving. But what I'm saying is that because we now have another tool in the toolbox to treat obesity, people are having more success with losing weight and maintaining weight without having to proceed to surgery. Now, some people are going to need surgery plus medication, and that's okay. Because this is not a shotgun, one size fit all approach, right? It's a tailored, bespoke approach to your health and to your weight loss. Well, let's get into the injections. And when I'm talking about the injections, I don't want to confuse you. I'm talking about the GLP-1 injections. Okay. What are those, Hernando? I'm glad you asked. Ozempic, Wegovy, Zepbound. Those are the medications that I'm talking about. The injectable medications. Well, let's get into it. You hear this term GLP. What does that mean? Again, GLP-1 injectable medications, Wegovy, Mounjaro, Ozempic, Zepbound, are drugs that mimic the actions that naturally occur in your body. Did you know that? GLP-1 stands for glucagon like peptide 1 receptor agonist, GLP-1. So normally when you eat, your body releases a hormone, GLP-1. And GLP-1 has several functions in the body when you're eating. Number one, it makes your pancreas release more insulin so that your blood sugar can stay regulated. Without insulin, your blood sugar goes sky high. You can go into a diabetic coma and die. The body has a perfect range that it likes to stay in as it relates to your blood sugar levels. And it will either increase the amount of insulin it makes or decrease to keep that blood sugar regulated. So GLP-1 helps the body make more insulin to keep your blood sugar in check. But also, when you eat, the body releases GLP-1 and it goes to your stomach. It slows down digestion. That is what makes you feel full. That's how you know it's time to stop eating. So if you give yourself an extra shot of that chemical, what happens? You stop eating sooner. You get full quicker. You consume less food. How does it do that? It slows down the stomach's emptying. That's called gastric emptying. So food sits there longer, you stay full. Now, you can be a glutton and say, you know what? I'm going to eat all 10 of these lemon pepper wings. And I'm going to eat every single ranch, Cajun ranch, French fry on my plate. Even though this GLP-1 is telling me to stop. You could do that, but you might get sick. Because it's slowing the digestion and telling your stomach it's full. Also, in your brain, you have parts of your brain that control hunger. They are called, Gary, the satiety centers of the brain. GLP-1 goes to the satiety centers of the brain and tells your brain, I'm no longer hungry. I can stop eating now. I don't have a craving. I'm good. So 3 main functions when you take GLP-1 injections, and it's just like the GLP that your body naturally makes. It controls blood sugar. It slows digestion to make you feel full. And it tells your brain that you're not hungry. In studies, there have been people that have been able to quit smoking and drinking because of the effects that GLP-1 has on the craving centers in the brain. It reduces craving. Gary, it reduces craving. Now, I can think of some things that it would be good that the GLP-1, Gary, could work on to make you stop, things that you like, like cravings, you like eating potato chips and snacking late at night. And, it'll take those cravings away. But there's some cravings, Gary, I don't want taken from me. I'm just going to leave it at that. All right. So we've talked about the benefits. So when did we first start using GLP-1? And this is not new, y'all. If you watch the news, you would think that like GLP-1s were just made within the last few years. Oh, no. They were exclusively diabetes medicines. I first encountered GLP-1s when I came out of residency and started practice in 2009. At that time, it was called Byetta. You had not even Trulicity. You had Byetta, you had Bydureon, then came along Trulicity. So these medications have been around a long time, but we were using them then exclusively to treat diabetes. We noticed a side effect of them, that people were losing weight once we put them on the medicine because it was cutting their appetite. And then, so there, now you have it. Also, they weren't always like how the Ozempic and the Mounjaros and the Wegovy and Zepbound are like once a week. They weren't always once a week. Sometimes these were injections you had to take every day, and that was less attractive. But now it's once a week. So what are other benefits? There are other benefits, y'all, to the GLP-1s. Did you know that GLP-1 injections can decrease the risk of heart attack or stroke? Oh, yeah, they can. Now, they do come with some side effects, and these are the more common ones. You got to think about what it's doing. It's slowing down your digestion. So some people can have nausea and vomiting, especially if you try to overeat on it. Some people can have diarrhea. Some people can have constipation. Very rarely, people can get inflammation of the pancreas. They call that pancreatitis. And in a subset of people who have not thyroid problems they run in their family. No, it's a specific type of thyroid cancer, medullary thyroid cancer. If medullary thyroid cancer is in your family history, or you've ever been diagnosed with thyroid cancer, you stay away from these medications. There are other options. Okay. But look, y'all, these medications are not just a fad. Okay. When used properly in the right patient, they are life-changing and can be life-saving. It is a shame that most insurances are not covering them. It is a shame that the pharmaceutical companies are pricing these medications so high. It is a shame that the FDA has said that many versions of this medication that can be made generically and as compound medication can't be made anymore, because now people are having to decide, can I afford to pay $600, $800, $1,000 per month for this medication? Because it is so effective. Now, how long do I have to stay on this medication, Hernando? I'm glad you asked. Remember, we said obesity is a chronic medical condition. So really asking me how long you need to stay on it is like asking me, if you have high blood pressure, how long you need to stay on the medication. Most people need to just stay on it. Now, there are some people that they get on the medication and they make some major lifestyle changes. They're able to lose weight and they're able to maintain, then they can come off of it. So what I tell my patients is, what's your goal weight? Let's stay on the medication till you hit your goal weight. But let's also see if you can follow this plan. If you can maintain 16 to 1,800 calories per day. If you can work out 5 days per week for at least 30 minutes. If you can drink 64 to 96 ounces of water per day. If you can do those things, and then when you hit your goal weight, we start weaning you off the medication, let's see if you can maintain it. If you start to pick up weight, we may have to go back on it, because remember, it is a chronic medical condition. It's a genetic issue. So there's nothing wrong with having to take medicine for it. Nothing to be ashamed of. And that's all I got on injectables. Well, this has been another episode of the Prescription for Better Living podcast. As always, I'm Dr. Hernando Carter, board certified internal medicine physician. Yes, your primary care extraordinaire. Saying, wherever you go, whatever you do, stand on the tallest mountaintop you can and scream to the top of your lungs, hallelujah, Dr. Carter is here. Until next time, I love you. Dr. Carter saying, peace out.